Hi, everybody. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live. We are Shero Commerce. I am Beth Shero, your CEO and co-founder of Shero Commerce. Thank you all for joining today. We have a great topic to talk about the migration from Magento Adobe Commerce to Saas platforms. So I'll be joined with our solution architect, Chris Roach, and welcoming him back. So great topic we'll be talking about, just so you can have some information to walk away with of kind of how to approach it, what to look for, and things to think about during your migration if you're considering it. And hopefully we'll get some good questions. Before we kick off today, we have a couple of events / announcements. So we have, get my handy list ready here. We have the Balkan eCommerce Summit. We have a team in the Balkans headed there, and we'll be joining that event for our international people that are joining here today. And next week, I'm invited back to the Girls Who Code at the Red Hook High School again. I'm so excited to be joining them to talk about design and UX. So last time I talked about coding and careers, so now we'll take us to the next step and give them a little workshop on how to get started in design and talk about career paths with design. And then finally, we have our second Shopify meetup in New York City on May 7th. So if you haven't seen that, please feel free to sign up and join us there. It was a great event last time, so I hope to see you all there again. So we'll just be diving in here and be talking about how the business goals, how to get started with your migration. Before we dive in, I'd love to bring in Chris Roach, our Director of Solution Architect, to introduce himself in case you haven't met him already, and talk a little bit about our backgrounds, because I think it's pretty significant in this conversation. Chris, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and talk about your background and get us started.
Sure. Hey, Beth, thank you for having me on again. It was fun the first time. I'm glad to be able to come back and do this again. Yeah, so I'm the Director of Solutions Architect here at Shero Commerce. With us being a virtual company, we're all over the place. I'm located in Savannah, Georgia on the East Coast. When it comes to experience, I have over 20 years experience in the e-commerce industry. I started off as a developer, self-taught, and slowly worked myself up, to kind of move into this new position of being of the solutions architect. I've worn a lot of hats over the years, from account management to project management. I've worked on sales team, I've worked on project team, so got a lot of experience. And again, I've kind of landed in the solutions architect role where I can use that experience and help clients kind of come up with solutions to their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And my background is a little diverse as well. And I think the common thread we have together is we were in the Magento Adobe Commerce world for so many years. I often joke, and I don't know if you ever use this expression, it's kind of a community thing, but that my blood bled. Yeah, I can speak. Good words here. My blood is orange is how it all started. And I fell in love with Magento many years ago, but the world has evolved tremendously and we see a lot of value in SaaS platforms. So we thought it was an important topic to bring up, and something that people are asking about. And I think it's good to have the information on what open source looks like, but also, SaaS, and having that knowledge of both worlds isn't very common, right? I don't know. Do you have any? You've
Well,
made
I'm the
this
same.
transition.
Yeah, I'm the same. I started on Magento 1, so I've had a lot of experience on that, and my blood is orange as well. But yeah, it's just been an interesting thing that we've kind of seen as an industry trend over the last few years. Magento has moved a little bit more upstream, in my opinion, and kind of after some of these more larger enterprise clients, people that have a lot of development needs. Whereas also, the barrier to entry on e-commerce is, much lower now. A lot of mom and pop shops are kind of, understanding that they need to build out more than just their brick and mortar. So they're looking to expand and, create an online presence. And platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce, these SaaS platforms that we've been kind of talking about, really speed that up. And so it's really interesting. But we've also seen a lot of people look to kind of try and, reduce a lot of their functionality on the site. And their development needs. And, that's what we're kind of talking about today is, what that looks like, that migration from something a little bit more enterprise to, these SaaS platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of these tips too can apply to other open source platforms, for example, like WooCommerce. So just keep in mind, it's not a lot of these trends that we're going to be talking about apply to any open source platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. So, like you said, Adobe bought Magento, they became Adobe Commerce, and they did go up market. And some of the customers in that lower tier of, what Adobe Commerce supports kind of, I feel like, got neglected a little bit in that transition, is the way I would describe it. And a lot of them didn't see the value of paying for it and wanted to investigate, or are investigating, the SaaS platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce. So that's kind of where we've seen this trend in that kind of mid market, I guess you would consider it. But a lot of the SaaS platforms are also going enterprise. So you are starting to see this trend where they are servicing much larger customers as well now. So it's not like you have to be SMB to use a SaaS platform anymore, right? I don't know if you have any
No,
thoughts about that.
no, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different, motivations for wanting to migrate from, one platform to another. Scalability is definitely one of them, and something you
Yeah.
just kind of were talking about right now. When we work with a lot of our clients, we want their business to grow as well too. And things like scalability are a lot easier on some of these SaaS platforms. The hosting concerns kind of move off of your plate and kind of are now on, the SaaS platform, on Shopify, on BigCommerce, for them to manage. So like you're talking about, some of these larger clients definitely have even easier needs as they grow and as they move into these more enterprise type of situations, where they're able to kind of, easily expand. They have the network, they have the server network to be able to kind of support their clients' needs. And so it's really helpful for sure.
Yeah. And also, like, the other thing that I've heard repetitively from our customers is, I just don't want to pay for maintenance. And it's
Yeah.
like, I understand where they're coming from. The money they invest in an open source platform is sometimes challenging, especially in a market where your margins are being impacted every day and there's, a lot of costs. So I think the total cost of, like, owning and running the website is a huge aspect of this as well. And, like, everyone wants to do more with less. And that's kind of also where they're willing to compromise with a SaaS platform. Where in the past years, I don't think people would be willing to compromise as much, but also the platforms have evolved and are offering a lot of great features out of the box that you can't ignore.
Oh, for sure. And that's a great point too, because when comparing, cost efficiency, you're able to kind of look at some of the areas that you're having to focus on open source platforms, like, Magento and WordPress, things like hosting, security,
Yeah.
updates, making sure, all your development needs are taken care of. And when you move over to SaaS platform, a lot of that kind of moves off of your plate. And we found that that's been, very beneficial to our customers. They're able to focus more on adding features, them, coming up, reviewing their current site, looking at metrics. We do a lot of metric driven decisions. We don't want to just be impulsive with our decisions, but it gives them the ability to be able to spend that time and start looking at those things. Allows for them to focus more on marketing as well too. So it opens up a lot more time to be able to kind of grow your business. And I think, that's the main goal of most of our clients. They just want to continue to expand, continue to grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, time to market is a big thing in these cases too. Like, people don't want to wait 6 months or a year. They want to be up and running, even with MVP solutions, to learn, use data, and adjust and evolve and being more agile. So I think that's also the benefit of using a SaaS platform, is that's much easier to achieve, and be successful with it.
It definitely is. I mean, there's other things. There's, we haven't really even touched on security as well too, which is
Right.
very, very helpful, to kind of get that off of your plate. PCI compliance, those sort of things are constantly moving. When you have an open source platform, you're having to install patches to kind of continue to, fix those issues, fix those vulnerable points. Whereas on a hosted platform, you're getting that information just pushed regularly, so you're more up to date. It's definitely more peace of mind for sure.
Yeah, and we were having a conversation last week with a client thinking about migrating off open source to SaaS, and they were like, "What do you mean there's no security or maintenance? Like, I don't get it." It almost
Yep, no, we had to schedule a new meeting, right? Like, they're like, "We're gonna have to have a whole new meeting to talk about this whole new maintenance strategy," which is a
yeah,
lot of fun too.
I love it because it's like you can use that money that they're spending on that, like keeping it operational and invested in things like conversion rate optimization, marketing, and fun projects that kind of make you stand out as a brand. That's what I find most valuable.
Y For sure, and I'll take a minute to kind of promote Shero. We definitely, it's not in our best interest to move off of some of these more expensive platforms,
Right.
but, I think it fits our overall goal of, trying to serve our clients the best, expand their business, and help them out. So overall, we find it to be, a positive switch many times, and whenever we make that recommendation, it's because we feel like it's in their best interest.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And it's funny that you say that because I was on a call with a client and they were like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, why would you tell us to do this? Because you're going to lose business. And I was like, well, my goal, to lead Shero is to make sure that we're constantly adding value. And I don't feel right just like taking money for maintenance if I know another solution would be easier and help you grow long term. Like, it's just the integrity that we have of thinking about that and how to plan to help you migrate in a way and then investing back. So of course, yeah, I mean, the Magento side of our business is a pretty significant part. So, but things evolve, your business changes, and you want to change it up, and you're thinking about SaaS. Here we are.
Yeah, there's
So,
so many more options now for people, There's so many options, and, it's great that they have the ability to kinda choose, and we can work with them to tailor something, to fit their specific needs. And so I think again, it's a positive all around.
100%. Yep. So, you talk to a lot of customers about this process. What are things that you would recommend that they keep an eye on if they are considering, or like, how do you evaluate if this is a possible path for your business?
Sure. Well, right off the bat, any migration from one platform to the other is going to have certain things that are, required. Migration needs for sure. You're definitely going to have to do that. So, there's still going to be your standard typical things that you have to deal with when moving from one platform to the other. What you're mainly going to have to try to change is your mindset, though. Your overall approach to a lot of a lot of features, functionality, upgrades, those sort of things kind of have to shift a little bit. On an open source platform like WordPress or eCommerce, anything can be done. Of course, it comes with a price as well. And they also have their app marketplace that allows you to kind of find these pre-built solutions, install them on your site. But we have found that it's always kind of required a little bit of additional development in
Yeah.
order for it to kind of fit nicely within the platform. Shifting over to some of these SaaS platforms, you really kind of need to change your approach, and your requirements can shift a little bit too. You're trying to work most of the time within the confines of that app marketplace. You're trying to find an app for it. A lot of times on our meetings with the clients, we'll say to them, you're going to hear us say a lot of times, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. It can be repetitive, but you're trying to kind of keep costs down. You're trying to, again, work within the confines of the system. And just finding apps to kind of fit your needs is always very important. Um, Again, you know, when looking at requirements, this is something that we would work with your team on. We'll go over, we'll create that list, and then we go out and we try to find these apps that work for it. A lot of times, we do find ways to make it work, and sometimes we don't as well too. You talked earlier about, and I made mention about a lot of smaller shops coming, trying to start up, and staying within that app marketplace is definitely more for them. Some of our larger clients, have specific needs, and sometimes we found that we can work with an app and make modifications on top of it and allow for it to work. But other times, it does require custom solutions. So this idea that, hey, customizations aren't going to be used. No, there's still very much part of the development build. They still need to be discussed, and a lot of times we still will utilize and develop our own features for a site. So again, that's one of the main concepts, is just that approach to how you want to add features on your site.
Yeah, I would add to that. The SaaS platforms have evolved so much. So, like, some people don't even realize that you're on a SaaS platform. Like, we were on another call and the customer felt like it might even just be a checkout. And we're like, no, there's like a full CMS, and like you can brand the site to whatever you want, and you can add customizations, and they do have them. They're much more open now to allow you to customize than they were in the past. So I think that's also the trend of, why it's easier for larger businesses to make that transition. We put this little kind of table together here just to kind of call out some of the things we've been talking about. But, you know, I think with open source, having that ability to do anything comes with great responsibility, is the way I heard someone say it once. And so anything that you can customize as much as you want, if you do that, there it does come at a cost. So that's kind of the good thing about SaaS, is it kind of keeps guardrails to what you can do.
Well, it keeps the budget down too, which is
That's
always nice.
true.
Another thing is theming. We didn't really touch on
Yeah.
theming a lot too, but the SaaS platforms really do a good job of theming too. Most of the time on our sales calls, we kind of pitch three different approaches. One of a fully custom theme, of course, the most expensive, versus using a theme approach, which is the least expensive. And then, a middle ground with allowing us to kind of use a theme and then make some modifications onto it. But we found it kind of speeds up the process to, go live. And also every single time, people have always said to us, we're not a huge fan of the theme, but when we show them what just a few little image changes, adding some products in, they're able to really see their branding, and it helps, again, it just gets them to launch quicker. And it also works with that app marketplace that we were talking about easier too. You install an app to a theme that's been built for the platform, and it just works again, so it's a lot quicker and a lot easier too. So, there is some flexibility on that you were kind of talking about on the open source, but also again, still there's a lot of functionality that comes out of the box with a lot of, our SaaS platforms, where this need for customizations just, isn't there as much.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, we're talking about easier to launch. What are like some areas to focus on when you are migrating that can be maybe more challenging or problematic? Like, obviously any migration, you have to worry about your data and SEO and things like that, but like, what are some key areas that you think people should make sure that they have a good plan of how they're going to attack it, or make sure it doesn't become a problem? Because I think a lot of times people forget how important the data migration is, or the SEO, and then they're like, my rankings down, or
Right.
like, it's just like, and it's really hard to correct that after the fact. So are there any other things like that you can think of that stand out from your experience?
Gosh, it really is kind of just the main areas, of any sort of migration. You want to make sure your data is moved over correctly. You want to make sure you have, your proper 301 redirects and your SEO rankings. I will say that both SaaS platforms, Shopify in general, has great SEO tools. So that's typically, not too much of a concern when switching over from other platforms. Shopify is one of those that just works very well out of the box. But then there are some other needs. A lot of where your more complex needs are going to be is around, your specific integrations and features. So, we're talking about your ERP integrations and such, and those are always difficult. But you're taking data from one system and you're pushing it to another. Now you're kind of pushing it to a brand new system. So there's a lot of mapping, there's a lot of planning, and a lot of testing involved in that. And I think a lot of people expect that to typically just work real easy, but it is definitely one of the more complex areas when migrating.
Yeah, I love when people say, "Oh, it's going to be easy." Most of the time, it's actually way harder than you think.
No, it's better for you to say it's very difficult because then you always set yourself up for more success for sure.
So, there's a lot of different SaaS platforms. In some cases, we help our customers do like a side by side comparison based on their business needs of what platform makes the most sense. You've done a couple of those. What are other things that you can recommend to people when they're evaluating what direction to go with their platform migration?
Oof, well, I would definitely look to just kind of see what your business objectives are.
Yeah,
If you're really looking to kind of expand on your marketing opportunities, working on your email marketing, your SMS marketing, those sort of things, I do think a switch to a SaaS platform is a great opportunity because again, it reduces the amount of time that you have to spend on upkeep for your site, and it gives you that time to kind of be able to go out and start focusing on building your business. Additionally, when moving from one platform to another, something to always think about is just your feature list. Anytime you go from one platform to another, you may just have new features. A lot of things start to come out of the box. You may also lose some things too. So, Shopify, BigCommerce, all of them have their great reps. I would definitely reach out to them, do your demos, go through those processes, make sure it has all your needs, or reach out to us. We can help with that as well too. But I think just making sure that you have a full understanding that your footprint can easily be moved from one site to another. Because there are areas where concessions can be made. There are areas where you may say, hey, we don't need this. This isn't being utilized. So it's also an opportunity to kind of add lightness to your
yeah,
site, as I would say. You have ability to kind of scale back and then build it back up again too, which can be very helpful too. So it's just a good opportunity for, just overall, restructuring and just kind of getting things back on the right path.
yeah, totally. And like, change is really hard for a lot of organizations. So, what I've seen that's helpful is just a lot of education and empowerment. And the great thing about the SaaS platforms is it is an easy entry, for example, for the marketing team to get in there and play around with it and see what they can do. It doesn't require like weeks of training or anything like that. So, it's really empowering the team in a different way, and that can often bring some really great positive energy to the project that in other cases maybe would be more challenging or have more resistance. So always thinking about how to like educate and empower the customer so that they can feel successful on the platform.
Yeah, that's definitely one of our goals. And a lot of times clients come to us, with requests and, we can point them to documentation on these platforms. That's another area that they do a very good job of. Shopify does an extremely good job of creating documentation. And so, again, we can point to documentation, teach them how to manage their website and reduce their cost even further. They're
Right.
not having to reach out to us for every little thing. They're able to do it quickly. And also they're always adding new tools as well too. So there's just a lot more to continue to learn and expand on. Again, a lot of times it's just a very strategic move and just opens up a lot of free time to kind of, just put more of your focus in growing your business.
Totally. And I think, one of the topics we were discussing before we hopped on was like the overall business impact. So, like, I was just talking about like empowering your team, but it's also if you are doing manual processes for some things, how do you automate that and make your business more efficient in these platforms? Because there's just so many more tools out of the box. That's been really beneficial for our customers as well, just to see those things. They're like, oh my God, I was taking hours doing this thing and now I can just do it like with a click of a button. It's not always that easy, but it's nice when you find those good wins.
Well, do you remember we were in a meeting the other day and we were demoing Shopify, and I think we were looking at descriptions and we wrote just a few short little
Yeah.
snippets about a product, and we used one of their new AI tools that can help write descriptions for you, and did a great job. I think your not bad reaction was great from it when we were demoing. So,
Yeah,
again, another way to just kind of speed up and help you with some content creation on your site, which is something that can be very time consuming.
absolutely. So, what else do you have? What do you want to share? Do you have anything else you want to add, Chris? I feel like we covered the main topics, but maybe I was missing anything.
Yeah, well, there's one other thing that we're looking to kind of start up. Here at Shero, we're trying to start our new Tech Talk
Oh, right,
Tuesdays,
right.
which is going to be another thing featured here on LinkedIn Live, or not. I don't know if it's going to be live, but we're going to have it here on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'll be kind of taking control of here at Shero. We're going to be looking at some of the features that we build for some of our clients, especially ones that we feel like could be used, for a multitude of persons or potential clients, and then just kind of demo those. It's going to be a little bit more technical, but I think it's going to be an opportunity as far as kind of show what we can do here at Shero, and also just give people a better idea of what just general capabilities are in this industry, because there's a lot of new tools now. There's a lot of neat things, and I don't think people know about them. They don't have enough time to go out and research this. So it's just another opportunity for us to kind of provide more information to everyone out there, and just continue to grow this e-commerce business that we're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much information. It can be overwhelming for people, and the SaaS platforms are constantly adding new features. So we're excited to share this, and it gives people that are maybe a little bit more technical or even not some ideas of how they can get started with SaaS, or what it would look like for their internal team if they did have a dev team, of how that team could transition to SaaS. Like, that's kind of like a stressful situation for some companies if they have a development team and then you go to SaaS, and like, how do you repurpose their skills, or what do you need moving forward, things like that. So I think it would be great. And I'm excited to see our team, talk in more detail, because there's only so much we can cover in 20 minutes.
No, we have a lot of really talented developers, so maybe it'll give us an opportunity to kind of promote some of them as well too, and just put some new faces out there, and so everyone can learn a little bit more about Shira as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be starting at the end of the month, right? So
Yeah,
we're
I
going
think so.
to
I
teaser.
think end of April was the plan. So
Okay.
we'll see how busy the sales pipeline is, but hopefully, we'll have something, real soon.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Again, this was like a very high level conversation. We'll be digging more in the tech talks and in further conversations. We have blog posts about this topic. So if there's anything specific that you need, we're happy to help or answer any questions. And I really appreciate everybody showing up today. Just again, friendly reminder, our Shopify meetup in May 7th. So it's right around the corner, about a month away. And Clevu will be there sponsoring. So we're excited to work with them. And I'm Beth Shero. Always be learning.